Welcome to Running on Reddit r/MaliciousCompliance, where sometimes the best way to get what you want is by playing by someone else's rules. Years ago, I worked at a local coffee shop. We served the standard coffee shop menu of coffee drinks and pastries we made in-house. One of our coffee drinks on the menu was a macchiato. We served a traditional macchiato, which is a double shot of espresso with a touch of steamed milk and milk foam, but since a certain chain has named a very different drink the same thing, I would always try to clarify what the customer was ordering when they asked for one. One day, a woman came up to the counter on her cell phone. She briefly pulled the phone away from her head long enough to mouth "caramel macchiato" at me. I started my spiel about how we serve a traditional macchiato, which is quite small. Did she want that, or one like the other place makes? She cut me off 3 words in and dramatically said, "I know what it is. Just make it." So, I rang her up and made it. I made her a tiny drink with espresso, caramel syrup and milk foam. When I gave it to her, she finally got off her phone call and told me I clearly made it wrong. I explained I made what she ordered as she told me she knew what she was ordering. She now said she wanted one, like she would get at national chain, which I happily made and charged her for. She did not get a refund on the first drink. This is what happens when people try to do things when talking on the phone. People tend to go haywire, accidents happen and people get pissed. I used to work in a grocery store back in 2016. I was 16 to 17 at the time. I don't work retail anymore, but I wanted to share this story I still remember to this day. It was a pretty normal night right before the end of my shift. I was one of the few closers at my store, so it was just me, my supervisor, and a cashier. I worked the self-checkout / customer service desk. My supervisor had just collected the tills and was in the back counting, and I was starting my rounds to take back the non-perishables that were left at the registers. I also might add that our store had terrible camera placement. Basically it showed all the registers and the supervisor's office door, which is where the safe was. This is important later. After putting up all the items that were left at the registers, I did my final checks of the store to make sure there were no misplaced / damaged item on the floor. I find a case of beer that was leaking in our beer / wine section, and since I wasn't sure how damaged the bottom of the cardboard case was, I had to drag it to the front so I could inform my supervisor about the damaged item before taking it to the back. We kept a cart full of damaged items to be taken out by the morning crew. Since the supervisor's office is locked while they are counting the tills, I call over to her and let her know that there was a damaged case of beer and I was taking it to the back. She responds with an absent, "Okay, sounds good." So, I take it to the back, place it with the rest of the damaged items, and go back to the front to see if there is anything else my supervisor needs me to do before I clock out. There isn't. Next couple days are fine as I finish up the week and wait for the next week's schedule to be posted, and I find out that I'm not scheduled for the next week. I figure there must have been a mistake as there was someone working at the same grocery store who shared my first name. I go upstairs to my manager's office and ask him about the schedule and why I wasn't scheduled. He responds with a, "Oh, my bad. I forgot to tell you that you are suspended until the investigation is over. By the way, can you train your replacement today on the self-checkout / customer service desk?" Me, confused and annoyed at the moment, don't really pay attention to the second part of his comment. Asked him what he was talking about. My manager, "We caught you stealing that case of beer that you took to the back, and until the police investigation is complete you won't be working here anymore. Please turn in your uniform, name tag, and badge." I am furious. But, I decide that I would just go with a bit of malicious compliance in this situation. "Well boss man, I took the damaged case of beer to the back to be thrown out in the morning as per procedure, but since I won't be working here anymore I guess you will just have to find someone else to train my replacement, since I clearly can't be trusted." I was the only person who could train someone for the customer service desk other than him. His jaw dropped. The look on his face was priceless as I took off my uniform and handed him my name tag and overwrite card. I then proceeded to walk out, get in my car, and drive home. About 2 years later, I joined the army, and I'm going for a job that required a security clearance. Guess what shows up? That suspension with an unfinished police report and the tapes from the security camera. I sit there with my interviewer as we watch the tape together, clearly showing that I did not steal anything. Needless to say, I was approved for my clearance. I ask if I can get a copy of the tape, and my interviewer agrees. It took 2 years, but I finally had the evidence I needed to sue for wrongful termination, but at the time, is well over the statute of limitation. I'm unable to actually do anything about it. Either way, I decide to go pay my old workplace a visit over my Christmas block leave, and a couple people recognize me, including my old boss. He tells me that thieves like me aren't welcome in his store, and that I need to leave, or he would be calling the police. I told him to call them, and that his claim would surely hold up, when I showed them the copy of the video footage of me stealing. The store had one of my favorite muffins, and honestly I really wanted one, since they are only made there. The police got called, and did nothing, and I got 3 muffins free of charge thanks to my favorite supervisor. Worth it. What lengths one must go through just to get some muffins. It was time to paint a few rooms in the house. For well over a year, my girlfriend would not, or could not pick a color. She was to go out of town for the weekend to see her mother. I generally do larger/messier projects around the house when this happens. I was tired of these rooms, and prodded her again for a color. I wanted her to pick from the dozens of samples collected over the last year or so. She told me to go ahead and pick whatever color I wanted. She did not care. Now, I have been with her long enough to know this is not true. I will end up repainting again, and I hate to paint. So, I devised a plan to make this work to my advantage. If I have to paint again, I may as well prepare for it. So I did. I went to the local big box home improvement store and bought 15 gallons of white paint. I then proceeded to paint every room in my 1,000 square foot house white. Ceilings, walls, and trim included. I thought it was beautiful. She on the other hand did not. She walked in and was not pleased in the least. It just went on and on and on. Stark whiteness throughout the whole house. New colors picked and applied within weeks. I gave her a blank slate to work with, and it helped her to visualize, I guess. Or, the hospital glow in every room got on her nerves. Perhaps the hospital glow was an outward expression of his inner passivity towards the relationship, pristine on the outside, but dying on the inside. Let me know in the comments below, what color would you pick to paint your house? If you like the content and want to support the channel, like and subscribe right now, or you'll be running on fumes. This happened about 3 years ago, while going through an airport in the US. I walked through the metal detector, something must have beeped, and they needed to pat me down. After a thorough pat down, I put my shoes on, and started to walk over to grab my bag. A TSA agent stops me and says, "You've been randomly selected. Please step into the body scanner." I was polite, but said that I really didn't want to get into the body scanner, and asked if there was another way. The agent said that I could get a pat down. I said, well, I just got a pat down, so. They angrily told me to pick an option. So, I took 2 steps backwards, to the woman who had patted me down 30 seconds ago and spread M again. While she was patting me down, I asked her if she found anything new. She stared daggers at me, but let me go. Randomly selected? Please. I bet there is nothing random about any of it. TSA agents are probably just bored, looking for an excuse to pin someone. Today's gonna be my lucky catch. Nope. A relative of mine dates an ER document. It was a typical slammed evening, and a lady arrived with a non-urgent, non-personal area problem. All treatment rooms were full. The doc suggested that she have a seat in the hallway, and they could probably get her taken care of fairly soon. She started complaining about being in the hallway and used the term Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. That was all it took. The doc said, "No problem. Have a seat in the full waiting room and we'll get you a room when we can." The patient said, "You know, doctor, I'm actually comfortable being seen in the hall." He replied, "But now I'm not comfortable with it." She was there for 6 hours before a room was available. HIPAA patients. for the most part, can't really be seen in the hall, since their medical situation must be held in privacy. The doctor truly was in a catch-22. Poor guy. When I was in high school, I had a part-time job working at a local restaurant. One day, I came in and was scheduled to wash dishes. No big deal. I walked into the back and came to find out that the morning shift did not have a dishwasher. Therefore, there was a mountain of dishes. No bueno. On top of all of that, we got slammed that night. As a minor, I was required to take a 30-minute break in order to work my full shift, 4 to 10 PM, I believe. As I clocked out for my break, I asked my manager if she could have someone cover my position while I was on break to prevent an even worse situation than was already at hand. She responded, "Won't be able to. You'll just have to stay late and finish it." An important thing to keep in mind is that this manager was notoriously lazy and unhelpful. She never lended a helping hand to get things done faster. She would rather stay 3 hours past close, sitting in the office waiting for us to finish our closing duties, instead of coming out and helping and getting everything done in a timely manner. She also was not very familiar with child labor laws in Ohio. Since I was a minor, not only did I have to take a 30-minute break, I also could not work past 11 PM on school nights. So, after clocking back in from my break, I resumed washing the mountain of dishes that had accumulated. I took my time and didn't rush to get everything cleaned, but also wasn't going extremely slow on purpose. 10:59 rolls around, and I walk into the office to tell her that I'm leaving. She asked, "Got everything done?" "Nope," I said. "It's a Wednesday night. Can't work past 11 PM labor laws. I left the water turned on for you. There's still a lot left." The look on her face was priceless. I clocked out with the biggest smile on my face, knowing that she was going to have to leave the office and do something for once. Asked another manager the next day to see what time she clocked out. 1:15 AM. What is the deal with management in most companies? A great quote comes to mind by Peter Principle: "In a hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to his level of incompetence." Yep. In this instance, emphasis on incompetence. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on the bell or you'll be running on fumes. See you in the next video.